Most people remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as a statue, a 7'2" monolith of stoicism. The goggles, the skyhook, the quiet dignity of a man who fought for civil rights and studied under Bruce Lee. But statues don't bleed, and statues don't hold grudges. Behind that mask of intellectual calm was a man with a list. Kareem didn't just want to beat you, he wanted to dismiss you. If you lacked discipline, if you lacked class, or if you dared to disrespect the game, you were dead to him. From public letters to decades of icy silence, Kareem's beefs weren't Twitter feuds. They were ideological wars. To understand the captain, you have to understand the 5 men he couldn't stand. And the first was a man he once called his hero. Number 1, Wilt Chamberlain. In the beginning, Wilt was a big brother Kareem never had. When he was a high school phenom in New York, Wilt would take him to jazz clubs in Harlem, showing him the life of a superstar. But as the years passed, the mentor became the rival, and Kareem didn't like what he saw. To Kareem, Wilt was a quitter. He saw the man who had more talent than anyone in history, but lacked the mental fortitude to win when it mattered most. By 1990, the resentment boiled over into a public execution via typewriter. Kareem published an open letter to Wilt in his autobiography. It's been several years now, Wilt, since you retired, and it seems that each year you're getting more and more disgruntled. You've been acting like a spoiled child. Kareem even coined a nickname that cut Wilt to the bone, Chumperlane. But the real tension wasn't just on the court, it was in the locker room. Kareem often spoke about the smell of Wilt, not just literally, though he famously complained about Wilt's unwashed suits and lack of hygiene in the locker room. However, smell in this case referred to Wilt's ego. While Kareem was reading books on philosophy, Wilt was bragging about his 20,000 women. To the captain, Wilt was a circus act. To Wilt, Kareem was an ungrateful brat. The relationship didn't just break, it rotted. But if you think his beef with Wilt was personal, wait until you see the man who actually made Kareem swing a punch before the game even started. Number 2, Elvin Hayes. The year was 1968. The venue was a Houston Astrodome. 52,000 people, which was the largest crowd in basketball history at the time, watched as UCLA's 47-game winning streak snapped. Elvin, the Big E Hayes, didn't just beat Kareem that night, he embarrassed him. Hayes dropped 39 points and grabbed 15 rebounds, while a hampered Kareem struggled. But it wasn't the loss that Kareem hated, it was the reaction. Hayes was loud, he was flashy, he was everything Kareem's mentor, John Wooden, taught him not to be. After the game, Hayes told the press that Kareem was overrated and that he wasn't even the best player on the court. Kareem, the man who valued the silent warrior archetype, viewed Hayes as a loudmouth who disrespected the sanctity of the game. He saw Hayes as a player who played for himself, not the system. Decades later, the tension remained. When they played in the NBA, Kareem treated every matchup with Hayes like a blood feud. In Kareem's eyes, Hayes was a glory hound who didn't understand the craft. Kareem could handle a loudmouth on the court, but what happened when he encountered a man so universally disliked that even his own teammates couldn't stand him? Number 3, Rick Barry. Rick Barry was a basketball genius. He was also, by almost every account of his contemporaries, a nightmare to be around. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a man of high culture, a student of history, and a seeker of social justice. Rick Barry was a man who famously wore a wig on TV because he was balding and once made a racially insensitive comment about Bill Russell's watermelon grin on a live broadcast. The clash wasn't about stats, it was about soul. Kareem found Barry's constant complaining and abrasive personality to be toxic. While Kareem expressed his frustrations through calculated silence, Barry expressed his through constant, high-pitched whining. There is a story of a game where Barry was screaming at his teammates, and Kareem looked over at the Warriors' bench with a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. To Kareem, Barry was the ultimate example of talent without character. He was a man who used his brilliance as a license to be a jerk. In the hierarchy of Kareem's respect, that was the ultimate sin. But as much as Barry's personality grated on him, there was one player who forced Kareem to do the unthinkable, break his vow of non-violence. Number 4, Bill Laimbeer. By the mid-'80s, Kareem was the elder statesman of the league. He was the captain, and then came Bill Laimbeer and the Detroit Pistons. Laimbeer wasn't just a physical player, he was a psychological irritant. He flopped, he shoved, and he played with a dirty edge that made the stoic Kareem's blood boil. Kareem viewed the game as an art form, a precise mathematical dance of the skyhook. Laimbeer viewed it as a street fight. The tension peaked during a 1984 matchup. Usually, Kareem would just ignore the noise, but Laimbeer's constant hacking and cheap shots finally broke the dam. Kareem, a man of zen, turned around and leveled Laimbeer with a punch that shocked the NBA. Later, Kareem would say that Laimbeer had no respect for the safety of other players. In Kareem's world, there was a line between tough and thug. Laimbeer didn't just cross that line, he lived on the other side of it. Kareem's anger at Laimbeer was loud, but his final beef was something much colder, a silence that lasted 20 years. Number 5. Shaquille O'Neal. Unlike the fiery outbursts directed at Wilt or the physical violence reserved for Laimbeer, Kareem's treatment of Shaquille O'Neal was something far more devastating: indifference. To Kareem, Shaq wasn't a villain to be fought. He was a giant who hadn't yet earned the right to be acknowledged. When Shaq arrived in Los Angeles in 1996, he didn't just come for the Hollywood lights. He came to sit at the table of Laker royalty. He expected a mentorship, a passing of the torch from the man who perfected the skyhook to the man who was currently breaking backboards. Shaq looked for a nod of approval, a private workout, or a single phone call. He got nothing but a ghost. For years, Kareem didn't just ignore Shaq, he minimized him. While the rest of the world was calling Shaq the most dominant ever, Kareem remained unimpressed. When reporters practically begged for a compliment, Kareem would offer only clinical, lukewarm critiques. He didn't see a dominant force. He saw a man settling for brute strength because he was too lazy to master a post game. He publicly scrutinized Shaq's abysmal free throw shooting and his recurring struggles with off-season fitness, viewing them not as minor flaws, but as insults to the craft. This wasn't a beef born of a punch or an open letter. This was an ideological war over what it meant to be a center. Kareem was a surgeon, precise, rhythmic, and disciplined. Shaq was a wrecking ball. To the captain, Shaq was a man with arguably more raw physical gifts than any human in history, yet he saw him using those gifts as a crutch to avoid the hard labor of perfection. Shaq took the silence personally. He had grown up with posters of Kareem on his wall, and the cold shoulder from his idol cut deeper than any Laimbeer elbow ever could. Shaq would later admit in interviews with a trace of lingering hurt, "Kareem never even spoke to me. He wouldn't even look at me." Kareem's silence was the most surgical weapon. He didn't believe Shaq had done the work to earn a seat in the big man fraternity. He didn't think Shaq respected the history of the position enough to learn its nuances. It took nearly 2 decades, a retirement, and several championship rings for the ice to finally thaw. But for the entirety of Shaq's prime, as he rampaged through the league, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar remained the only man in the world Shaq could never quite impress. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar held the world to a standard few could ever meet, and he wasn't afraid to burn bridges to protect the integrity of the game. But was he right to be the loneliest GOAT? Or was his silence just a different form of arrogance? Drop a comment below and let us know whose side you're on, the captains or the men on his list. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the icy side of NBA history, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with a friend who thinks modern NBA beef is actually serious. We'll see you in the next one.